The New Year's Highway. Testimonies from the midnight of 2026. There are nights when the highway shows no mercy. Nights when the asphalt becomes something more than concrete and painted lines. And if you ask me which is the worst night of the year to be driving, I'll tell you without hesitation. New Year's Eve. I've been behind the wheel for 23 years. I've crossed this country from end to end more times than I can count. I know every highway, every federal road, every dangerous stretch between Tijuana and Cancun. I've seen accidents I'd rather forget. I've driven through storms that made the cab shake. I've driven sleepy, hungry, with everything against me. But there's something about the midnight of December 31st that changes everything. It's as if in that exact moment, when one year ends and another begins, the highway opens up to places that shouldn't exist, times that don't add up, things that have no explanation. Tonight, December 31st, 2025, I'm sitting in a roadside cafe near Querétaro. Outside it's raining. It's 9 o'clock at night. I have my 2019 Freightliner Cascadia parked outside with a load I should deliver tomorrow in Mexico City. But I'm not going to drive tonight. Not after the stories I've heard. Not after what happened to me exactly 2 years ago. Here at this table are other companions, drivers like me, men who have spent decades on the road. And we all have something in common. We've all experienced something on a New Year's Eve that we can't explain. Things we only share among ourselves because we know no one else would believe us. Outside, the cafe lights flicker a bit. The rain beats on the tin roof. The radio at the bar is playing Christmas music, but we all know that in a few hours the countdown to 2026 will begin, and none of us will be on the highway when that happens. One by one, we're going to tell what we lived through, not to scare, not to entertain, but so that other drivers know, so they understand why some of us prefer to lose a day's work rather than be driving when the clock strikes midnight on December 31st. These are our stories, all real, all happened on past New Year's Eves, and all ended with us wondering if we really crossed into the new year or if something got trapped along the way. Story 1. The Phantom Conv, narrated by Hector Ramirez. 28 years of experience. My name is Hector Ramirez. I drive a 2017 Kenworth T680. The paint is red with black stripes. It has almost 800,000 kilometers on it, but it still responds like the first day. I've been doing long routes for 28 years, mainly Highway 57 between Monterrey and Mexico City. What I'm going to tell you happened in the early morning of January 1st, 2024. Or so I think. I'm still not completely sure. I had left Monterrey on the 31st around 7 in the evening. I had a shipment of appliances that I had to deliver in Querétaro before January 2nd. The company had offered me double pay if I agreed to work on New Year's, and I needed the money. My wife was expecting our third child, and the medical expenses weren't cheap. The weather was strange that night. It wasn't raining, but there was a dense fog that came and went. Temperature around 8 degrees, the sky completely black without stars. The highway was surprisingly empty. At that time, there's normally more traffic, but that night it seemed I was the only one who had decided to work. I passed the Saltillo toll booth around 8:30. The lady who charged me was wearing a headband with little reindeer antlers and wished me a happy new year with a tired smile. I thanked her and continued on. Highway 57 is a route I know by heart. Every curve, every hill, every sign. I could drive it with my eyes closed. Around 10:15 at night, I started to see the first signs of thicker fog. I reduced my speed from 110 to 90 kilometers per hour. I didn't want to risk it. The radio was tuned to a station that was broadcasting party music, and every so often the announcer mentioned that there were less than 2 hours until 2024. It was at kilometer 512, just after passing Matehuala, when I saw the first lights. 3 pairs of red lights ahead. Tractors. They were going slow, about 60 kilometers per hour. The distance between them was perfect, almost mathematical. They seemed to be traveling together in conv. That's not unusual. Sometimes we drivers get together to make the journey safer, especially at night. I got a little closer. There were 3 almost identical tractors. Volvo VNL, white, the the same model. I couldn't see the plates well because of the fog, but I thought it was strange that they were so similar. I reduced my speed to maintain a safe distance behind them. We continued like this for several kilometers. Me behind, them ahead, moving at that constant speed of 60 per hour. I tried to communicate by CB radio. I touched the microphone and said, "Convoy ahead, this is unit behind you, channel 19. Do you copy?" Nothing, only static. I tried again. "Conv of 3 white Volvos, do you receive me? This is Red Kenworth behind you." Silence. Sometimes it happens. Not all drivers have the radio on or are on the same channel. We kept moving forward. We passed kilometer 498, then 485. The fog got denser and then cleared up a bit, but those 3 tractors were always there, at the same distance, moving at the same speed. I looked at the dashboard clock. 11:23 p.m. I decided I was going to pass them. The highway was empty, no one was coming in the opposite direction, and I wanted to maintain my speed. I pressed the accelerator, put on the left turn signal, and started to pass the last tractor in the convoy. It was when I was at the height of his cab that I realized there was no one inside. The cab was illuminated by the dashboard lights, but the driver's seat was empty, completely empty. No one at the wheel, no one in the passenger seat, just the empty cab moving down the highway. I felt a chill down my back. Maybe the driver was bent down, looking for something. Maybe he had the seat reclined. I told myself that as I finished passing the first tractor and approached the second. Same result. Empty cab. Lights on, engine running, moving perfectly in its lane, but with no one inside. My heart started beating faster. I accelerated a bit more to pass the second tractor and get to the third. I needed to confirm what I was seeing. I needed to know I wasn't going crazy. The third tractor was also empty. 3 phantom tractors moving in perfect formation on Highway 57 without drivers. I completed the pass and got ahead of them. I looked in the rearview mirror. They were still there, maintaining their speed, their lights shining in the fog. I floored the accelerator. My Kenworth responded, and I started to leave them behind. 120 kilometers per hour, 130. After about 10 kilometers, I couldn't see them in the mirror anymore. I breathed deeply. My hands were sweating. What the hell had that been? Maybe it was a trick of the fog. Maybe the drivers were there, but because of the angle and the light I hadn't seen them. I tried to calm down. I looked at the clock. 11:47 p.m., 13 minutes to midnight. The radio started playing. 10 minutes left to say goodbye to 2023 and welcome 2024. Wherever you are tonight, may the new year bring you blessings and, I frowned. 2023. Say goodbye to 2023. No, we were in 2023, entering 2024. The announcer had made a mistake. I kept driving. The fog was now so thick I could barely see the white line of the lane. I reduced to 90 kilometers per hour. The highway made a long curve to the left, and then I saw them again. Ahead, the same 3 red lights. The 3 white tractors in perfect formation, moving at 60 per hour. That was impossible. I had left them behind kilometers ago. I had been driving at more than 130. There was no way they could have caught up with me. I braked hard. My Kenworth squealed its tires. I stopped in the right lane with the hazard lights on. The 3 tractors passed by my side, slowly, silently, their lights shining in the fog. I looked toward the cabs as they passed. Empty, all 3 empty. And on the back of each trailer, painted with large, faded letters, was a number, 2022. My breathing stopped. I grabbed my cell phone. The screen showed 23:58, December 31, 2023. No, that was wrong. We were in 2023, entering 2024. Or wait, what year was it? I looked at the GPS. The screen was flickering. 12/31/2022. Then it changed to 12/31/2023. Then to 12/31/2024. The dates changed every few seconds. The 3 tractors had already passed and were moving away ahead. I started up again, slowly this time. I followed them at a distance. The dashboard clock read 11:59 p.m. The radio began the countdown. 10, 9, 8. I looked toward the tractors. They kept moving in perfect formation. 7, 6, 5. The fog turned completely white. I couldn't see anything anymore. Only the 3 red lights ahead. 4, 3, 2. And in that moment, just before the announcer said 1, the 3 tractors disappeared. They vanished into the fog as if they had never been there. 1. Happy New Year 2024. The fog cleared instantly. The highway was empty, completely empty, just me. I looked at the clock. 12 o'clock a.m., January 1, 2024. The GPS showed 101-2024. It wasn't flickering anymore. The cell phone 0000, January 1, 2024. Everything was normal. The highway was clear. The sky was still black, but the fog had disappeared. I kept driving. I don't know how much time passed. I was in shock, trying to process what I had seen. I passed kilometer 445, then 432. Everything seemed normal. I arrived at the San Luis Potosi toll booth around 2 in the morning. The operator charged me and gave me my ticket. I looked at it. 101-2024, 02, 17 a.m. Was the road quiet? He asked me. Yes, I lied. All quiet. I delivered my load in Querétaro without problems. But since that night, every time I see a white tractor on the highway, I get nervous. And every New Year's, no matter how much they pay me, I stay home. Because I still wonder, those 3 tractors with the number 2022 painted on the back, were they drivers who never made it to 2023? Are they still trapped in that cycle, repeating the same route every New Year's, trying to cross to a year they'll never reach? I don't know the answer, and I prefer not to know it. Story 2. The Closed Gas Station, narrated by Miguel Angel Torres. 19 years of experience, Miguel Angel Torres, at your service. 19 years driving cargo routes between Guadalajara and Veracruz. My tractor is a 2016 International ProStar, navy blue. It's not the newest or the prettiest, but it's gotten me out of trouble more times than I can count. What happened was in the early morning of January 1st, 2023. I was returning from Veracruz toward Guadalajara on Highway 150D, passing through Puebla. I had left late from my last delivery, around 9 at night on the 31st. I knew I was going to be driving during midnight, but I needed to get home. My mom was sick, and I wanted to spend at least the first day with her. The weather that night was cold, very cold for Veracruz, about 5 degrees. It had rained earlier, and the highway was wet, with puddles in some sections. The traffic was almost non-existent, just some cars going fast, probably returning from parties. Around 11:30, I passed through Orizaba. The diesel tank was at 3/4, enough to get to Puebla, where I planned to make my next stop. But the needles started dropping faster than normal. By 11:50, it was already at half tank. That was strange. My International normally gets much better mileage. I checked the dashboard looking for any warning light. Nothing. Everything seemed to be working fine, but the fuel was dropping. I looked at the GPS, searching for the nearest gas station. There was one at kilometer 239, about 8 kilometers ahead. I decided to stop there, check if I had any leak, and load diesel. The radio was broadcasting the New Year's party from the Zocalo in Mexico City. 7 minutes left until 2023, the announcer said. People screaming, banda music playing in the background. I reached the exit at kilometer 239. There was a green sign that said, "Gas station, 500 meters." I took the exit and followed the secondary road. It was a narrow highway, without lighting, surrounded by trees on both sides. After about a kilometer, I saw the lights of the gas station. It was a small station, one of those independent ones that aren't Pemex or the big chains. It had 4 pumps, a small store, and a neon sign that said, "Open 24 HRS, flickering." But something felt strange. There was no other vehicle, no lights on inside the store. The pumps were there, illuminated by the overhead spotlights, but there was no movement visible. I looked at the clock. 11:56 p.m. I parked the tractor in front of one of the diesel pumps. I left the engine running and got down from the cab. It was a cold that chilled to the bone. I could see my breath in the air. "Hello," I shouted. "Is anyone here?" Nothing. Only the sound of the wind through the trees. I walked toward the store. The lights were off, but the door was open. I stuck my head inside. "Hello. Anyone attending?" Silence. Inside the store, everything was in its place. The shelves full of products, the cash register closed, a calendar on the wall showing December. But there was no one. No attendants, no customers, no manager, no one. I went back to my tractor. The fuel kept dropping. It was already at a quarter tank. This didn't make sense. I checked under the chassis looking for signs of a leak. I found nothing. I looked at my cell phone. No signal. The bars were completely empty. I tried to call my wife. Nothing. It didn't even ring. The tractor radio had stopped broadcasting the party, just static. I turned the knob looking for another station. Nothing. Static on all frequencies. I looked at the dashboard clock. 11:58 p.m. "Okay," I told myself. "I'm going to get out of here. I'll make it to the next gas station." I got in the tractor and put the gear in reverse to leave. But before moving, I saw something in the side mirror. There was a man standing behind my tractor. I jumped in my seat. Where had he come from? A moment ago, there was no one. I got down from the tractor again. The man was standing there, motionless, about 5 meters away. He wore blue attendant overalls. His face was in shadow because the lights were behind him. "Good evening," I said. "Are you attending?" He didn't respond. He just stood there. "I need diesel," I told him. "Are you open?" The man finally spoke. His voice was strange, like hollow. "It's late." "Yes, I know. But your sign says you're open 24 hours. "It's late," he repeated. "Very late." A chill ran down my back. "Can you sell me diesel or not?" The man raised an arm and pointed back toward the road I had come from. "You should leave before midnight." "What? Why?" "After midnight, those who are here stay here." I didn't like how that sounded. "What do you mean?" The man started walking toward me. Slowly, his steps made no sound. "Every year," he said, "on this night, some drivers enter this station. And they never leave. They stay, like me. Like the others." I backed toward my tractor. "The others? What others?" Then I saw them. Around the gas station, coming out of the shadows, there were more people. 5, 10, maybe 15. All dressed as attendants, mechanics, or drivers. All walking slowly toward me, all in silence. Panic invaded me. I ran to the tractor, jumped up, and locked the door. The fuel gauge read almost empty, but I didn't care. I started up and floored the accelerator. The tractor roared and started moving. The figures didn't run. They just walked, getting closer and closer. I dodged the pumps and left the gas station toward the secondary road. I looked at the clock. 11:59 p.m. I drove at full speed down that dark road, the tree branches hitting the sides of the trailer. I could see the highway lights ahead. 12 o'clock a.m. Just as I reached the highway entrance, I heard a sound, like a distant explosion. I looked in the rearview mirror. The gas station was no longer there. Where a moment ago there had been lights and pumps and buildings, now there was only darkness, empty field, as if the gas station had never existed. And the diesel tank was back at 3/4, exactly where it was before I took that exit. I drove directly to Puebla without stopping. I arrived at a Pemex gas station and got down trembling. The attendant looked at me strangely. "Are you all right, sir?" "Yes," I told him. "Just fill it up, please." Later, when I was calmer, I searched on my cell phone for information about gas stations at kilometer 239 of 150D. I found nothing. According to GPS, there was no exit at that kilometer. There was no secondary road. Nothing. But I was there. I saw those people. I heard what they told me. After midnight, those who are here stay here. Since that night, I've never stopped at a gas station that looks empty on New Year's. No matter how low my tank is, I'd rather be stranded on the highway than risk entering a place that might not let me leave. Because I still wonder, how many drivers have entered that gas station over the years? How many stayed? And in what year were they trapped? I don't want to know, and I don't want to be one of them. Story 3. The radio message narrated by Roberto Castillo. 26 years of experience, Roberto Castillo. 26 years on the road. I drive a 2018 Volvo VNL 760. white with blue stripes. Most of my work is transporting construction materials in the center of the country, mainly between Puebla and Querétaro. My story is from December 31st, 2021, entering 2022. Although, to be honest, I'm still not sure if that's what really happened. That night, I had a load of rebar and cement that I had to deliver in Querétaro on January 2nd. I had left Puebla early, around 6 in the evening. My plan was to drive until after midnight, stop to rest a few hours at some service area, and continue in the morning. The weather was strange. It wasn't as cold as it should be for that time of year. There was a light fog that came and went, and the sky was covered with low clouds that blocked the moon. Highway 57D was moderately busy. There was normal car traffic and some other tractors. Around 10 at night, I passed through San Juan del Rio. I decided to stop at a gas station to load diesel and buy a coffee. The station was full of people. Families traveling, people buying last-minute things for their parties. The atmosphere was festive. There was New Year music playing on the store speakers. I loaded fuel, bought my coffee and some tacos, and got back on the road. The radio was tuned to a grouper music station. I like to listen to music while I drive. It keeps me awake and keeps me company. It was 11:15 when something strange started to happen. I was driving down a straight stretch of highway near kilometer 178 when the radio started having interference. The music would cut out, static would come in, then the music would return. I turned the knob looking for another station, but they all had the same interference. And then I heard a voice. It was a man's voice, speaking in Spanish, but with a lot of static in the background. I couldn't understand well what he was saying. It sounded like a traffic report or something like that. I turned up the volume. The voice became clearer. Kilometer 178 accident, tractor rollover, load of construction materials. Driver did not survive. I tensed up. An accident at kilometer 178. I was exactly at that kilometer. I looked ahead. The highway was empty. There was no accident. The voice continued. Identified as Roberto Castillo, Volvo VNL unit, impact recorded at 23:58 hours on December 31. My heart stopped. That was my name, my type of tractor, and there were less than 20 minutes until 23:58. Emergency unit could do nothing, was declared on site. The static increased, and the voice cut out. The radio went back to complete static. My hands gripped the wheel so tightly the knuckles were white. What the hell had that been? A joke? A cross transmission? But it had said my name, my exact name. I looked at the dashboard clock. 11:42 p.m. I reduced speed to 80 kilometers per hour. My eyes scanned the road looking for any sign of danger, anything that could cause an accident, but everything was normal. Clear highway, stable weather, good visibility. The radio continued in pure static. I tried to change stations. Nothing. Only static on all frequencies. I passed kilometer 175, then 172. I was driving with extreme care, keeping my speed low, constantly checking the mirrors. 11:50 p.m. 8 minutes until 23:58. The radio spoke again. This time it was a woman. Her voice sounded sad, as if she were crying. "Roberto, please, you have to stop. Don't keep driving, please." It was my wife's voice. "Martha," I shouted. I grabbed my cell phone. I dialed her number. The call wouldn't go through. No signal. The voice on the radio continued. "Roberto, I'm waiting for you at home, but you're not going to arrive. Please stop. Stop the tractor." "Martha, where are you? How are you on the radio?" I shouted into the void. "The clock is going to strike the hour, and you're going to. Static cut her off again. I looked at the dashboard. 11:54 p.m. 4 minutes. My breathing was erratic. Sweat ran down my forehead despite the cold. I didn't understand what was happening, but I knew something was very wrong. I searched for the nearest service area on GPS. There was one 3 kilometers away. I accelerated a bit. I needed to get off the highway. I needed to stop. 11:56 p.m. The radio emitted a high-pitched sound like an emergency signal. Then a different voice. Masculine, formal, like a news announcer. "Attention. It is 23:56 on December 31, 2021. In exactly 2 minutes at kilometer 168 of Highway 57D, a fatal accident will be recorded that will claim the life of driver Roberto Castillo. Authorities asked to avoid the area. I was approaching kilometer 168, 11:57 p.m. I saw the service area sign ahead, 200 meters. I put on my turn signal and started changing lanes. My tractor was reducing speed, 110, 190 kilometers per hour. The radio, 1 minute to midnight. No, that was wrong. It wasn't midnight yet. It was 11:57. I looked at the dashboard clock, 11:58 p.m. Suddenly, everything seemed to move in slow motion. I was about to take the exit when I saw something ahead, in the lane where I had been seconds ago. There was debris on the highway. Large pieces of concrete, rebar scattered, as if a tractor had rolled over and spilled its load. If I hadn't taken that exit, if I had continued in that lane, I would have crashed into that debris at more than 90 kilometers per hour. My tractor finally stopped at the service area. I put on the parking brake. My hands were shaking uncontrollably. The clock read 11:59 p.m. The radio began a countdown. 10, 9, 8. I looked in the rearview mirror toward the highway. The debris was still there, illuminated by my tractor's lights. 7, 6, 5. And then I saw something else. Another tractor, a white Volvo, my same model. It was rolled over on the side of the highway, its load spilled all over the pavement. 4, 3, 2. There was someone in the cab of the rolled tractor. A man. I couldn't see his face, but he was wearing the same jacket I was wearing. 1. Happy New Year 2022. Flash of light, like lightning. And when my eyes adjusted again, the highway was empty. The debris had disappeared. The rolled tractor had disappeared. Everything was clean and normal. The radio returned to normal, party music. Congratulations, we've just entered 2022. My cell phone rang. It was Martha. I answered with trembling hands. Happy New Year, love, she said, her voice full of joy. Where are you? I'm at a service area. I stopped to rest. That's good. I was calling you, but you weren't answering. Are you okay? You sound strange. Yes, just tired. I love you. See you tomorrow. I love you too. Drive carefully. I hung up. I sat in the cab for an hour, trying to process what had happened. Had I seen my own accident? A version of me that didn't stop in time? Had the radio warned me about something that was going to happen, and by changing my decision, did I avoid that future? I don't know. What I do know is that if I hadn't heard those transmissions, if they hadn't scared me enough to get off the highway at that exact moment, I wouldn't be here telling this story. Since that night, I always have the radio on when I drive on New Year's. And always, I pay attention to what it says. Because sometimes the highway tries to warn you. It tries to save you. You just have to listen. Story 4. The Kilometers That Repeat, narrated by Fernando Nunez. 22 years of experience, Fernando Nunez, at your service. 22 years driving mainly the route between Monterrey and Tijuana. My tractor is a 2015 Freightliner Coronado, dark green, with 500,000 kilometers traveled. What I'm going to tell happened 3 years ago, in the early morning of January 1st, 2023. It was the longest night of my life, literally and figuratively. I had accepted a last-minute job transporting auto parts from Monterrey to Tijuana. The pay was good, almost double the normal rate, because no one wanted to work on New Year's. I needed the money. Debts don't wait for special dates. I left Monterrey around 8 at night on the 31st. Highway 40D toward Saltillo was almost empty. Cool weather, clear sky, good pavement condition. Perfect conditions to make time. I passed Saltillo without problems around 9:30. I loaded fuel and continued west on 40. My plan was to reach Torreon before midnight, rest a couple of hours, and continue. The radio was broadcasting a party from Monterrey. Norteña music, people shouting, the announcer making funny comments. I was going at a good speed, 115 kilometers per hour. The tractor was responding well. Around 11 at night, I was passing through a straight stretch of the highway between Saltillo and Pela. It's an area I know well. There are almost no curves, just a long straight that extends for kilometers. There are signs every kilometer marking the distance. I saw kilometer 65 pass, then 64, 63, all normal. 11:32 p.m. according to the clock. A few minutes passed. I saw the kilometer 60 sign, then 59, 58. 11:45 p.m. Ahead I saw something on the shoulder. A tractor stopped with hazard lights on. I approached slowly, moving my tractor to the left lane to give it space. When I passed by its side, I saw it was an International red, similar to the one my compadre Jesus uses. But I didn't see anyone inside or outside. I continued ahead. I passed kilometer 55, then 54. 11:51 p.m. The radio started the countdown. 9 minutes left until 2023. Get ready for the final countdown. I thought I'd reach Torreon by midnight, but I wasn't going to make it. I decided it didn't matter. I could receive the new year on the highway. It wouldn't be the first time. I kept driving. I passed kilometer 50. 11:55 p.m. And then I saw something that made me frown. Ahead on the shoulder, there was a tractor stopped with hazard lights on. A red International, just like the one I had seen a few minutes ago. How strange, I thought. 2 red tractors stranded on the same night. I passed by its side. Same position, same model, no one visible inside. I continued ahead. 11:58 p.m. 2 minutes to the new year. I passed kilometer 65. Wait, kilometer 65. I braked a little. That didn't make sense. I had passed 65 a while ago. Now I should be around kilometer 48 or 47. How had I returned to 65? Maybe I had made a mistake. Maybe I had read the sign wrong. I kept driving, but now paying more attention to the numbers. Kilometer 64, kilometer 63, 11:59 p.m. 1 minute, 59:58. I passed kilometer 60, and there it was again. The red International tractor stopped on the shoulder, hazard lights turning on and off. The same tractor. The third time. My heart started beating faster. This wasn't normal. I passed by the tractor. I tried to see the cab better. The windows were fogged up, but I could make out a silhouette inside. Someone sitting in the driver's seat. 30, 29, 28. I continued ahead. Kilometer 59. Kilometer 58. 20, 19, 18. Kilometer 55. 10, 9, 8. Kilometer 54. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year 2023. Music, screams, celebration on the radio. And I was passing through kilometer 50. Again. This was already the 4th time I had passed through this section of highway. The same kilometers, over and over again. I looked at the dashboard clock. It read 12 o'clock a.m. But then, while I was looking at it, the numbers changed to 11:32 p.m. No, that was impossible. The GPS showed my position. I kept moving forward on the map, but the kilometers on the signs were repeating. I decided to accelerate. Maybe if I went faster, I could get out of this, whatever was happening. I floored the accelerator. 130, 140 kilometers per hour. The kilometers passed quickly. 48, 47, 46, 45. And then I saw it. The red International tractor ahead on the shoulder. But this time, the lights weren't flashing. They were off. I braked hard. Something told me I needed to stop. I needed to see what that tractor was. I parked my Freightliner behind the International. I took my flashlight and got down. It was very cold. My breath formed clouds of vapor. I walked toward the red tractor. The cab was dark. I knocked on the driver's window. "Hello, are you all right?" There was no response. I tried to open the door. It was unlocked. I opened it slowly. There was a man in the driver's seat. He wore a denim jacket and a cap. His head was leaning back, eyes closed. "Sir, are you okay?" I touched his shoulder. He was cold, very cold. And then I saw the dashboard. The clock was frozen at 11:58 p.m. But the date said 12/31/2022, a year ago. I backed away from the cab, my heart in my throat. I looked around. The highway was completely empty. There were no lights from other vehicles in any direction. I ran back to my tractor. I got in and locked the door. I started up without looking back. And this time, I didn't pay attention to the kilometers. I just drove. I drove without stopping, no matter the numbers on the signs. I don't know how much time passed. It could have been minutes or hours. But eventually I saw lights ahead. A gas station. Other vehicles. Life. I stopped at the gas station. I got down trembling. There were people there, families celebrating the new year, people buying food. "What day is it?" I asked the attendant. He looked at me strangely. "January 1st, boss. Happy New Year." New Year of what year? Now he looked at me like I was crazy. 2023, sir. Are you feeling all right? I checked my cell phone. January 1, 2023, 2:47 a.m. I had lost almost 3 hours. From midnight until 2:47, I had no clear memory of what had happened. I only remember driving and driving, seeing the same kilometers over and over again, until finally something broke, and I got out. Later, I searched for information about that stretch of Highway 40D. I found an old article from a local newspaper. 4 years ago, in the early morning of January 1st, 2019, a driver of a red international tractor had died from a heart attack while driving. They found him at kilometer 58, with his clock stopped at 11:58 p.m. He never made it to the new year. And now, every December 31st, on that section of Highway 40D between Saltillo and Pela, the kilometers repeat, and that red tractor appears, over and over again, trapped in the last minutes of the year, unable to cross. I was lucky. I managed to get out. But sometimes I wonder, did I really get out? Or am I still there, going around in those 15 kilometers, thinking I escaped but actually trapped forever? I don't know. And that uncertainty is what scares me the most. Story 5. The Call from the Future, narrated by Alberto Mendoza. 17 years of experience. Alberto Mendoza. 17 years as a driver. 2017, Kenworth T800 tractor, black. I work mainly short and medium routes in the Baggio, between León, Aguascalientes, and San Luis Potosi. My experience was on the night of December 31st, 2022, passing into 2023. It was strange in a different way from the other stories that have been told. I didn't see impossible things. I didn't get lost in repeating kilometers. But I received a call that shouldn't have been possible. That night, I was going from León towards San Luis Potosi with a load of industrial equipment. I had left late, around 9 at night, because the load had been delayed at the warehouse. Normally, I don't like to drive on New Year's Eve, but the client had insisted, and the pay was good. Highway 57 was quiet. There was some traffic, but nothing worrying. The weather was cold but dry, no rain or fog. Good visibility, stars in the sky. My plan was to arrive in San Luis Potosi around 12:30 or 1 in the morning after midnight. Then I would look for a hotel and rest. I would deliver the load the next day. Around 10:30, my cell phone rang. It was my son, Andres. He's 23 years old and was studying engineering in Guadalajara. "Hello," I answered using hands-free. "Dad, where are you?" His voice sounded worried. "On the highway, son. I'm going to San Luis. Everything okay?" "Dad, I need you to listen to me carefully. What date is it today?" I frowned. "December 31st. "Why? What year?" 2022. "Andres, what's going on? Are you okay?" There was a long pause. I could hear his breathing on the other side. "Dad, I don't know how to explain this to you, but something happened 2 years ago. On the night of December 31st, 2022. 2 years ago. Andres, today is December 31st, 2022. "No, Dad. Today is January 5th, 2024. 2 years have passed. And you disappeared that night. December 31st, 2022. You never arrived in San Luis Potosi. Your tractor was found abandoned at kilometer 412 of 57. But you weren't there. No one found you. You were declared missing." My heart accelerated. "What? No, that doesn't make sense. I'm here. I'm driving right now. It's 2022, not 2024. "Dad, listen to me. I don't know how this call is possible. I don't understand what's happening. But if you're really there, if it's really December 31st, 2022 for you, then you need to do something. When you reach kilometer 412, there's an exit toward a service area. Don't take it. Do you understand me?" No matter what you see, what you hear, or what reason your mind gives you to take that exit, don't do it. Go straight. Don't stop until you reach San Luis Potosi. Andres, you're not making sense. Dad, please. His voice sounded desperate. I don't have much time. I don't know how long this connection is going to work. Mom is here with me. She's looking at me but can't hear you. For her, for everyone, you disappeared 2 years ago. We're in early 2024. But somehow, right now, you're in 2022. And if you want to get to 2024, if you want to be here with us, you have to. The call cut off. The line went dead. Andres. Nothing. I dialed his number back. The call wouldn't go through. The number you have dialed is not available. I tried again. The same thing. I looked at my cell phone. The call had lasted 3 minutes and 12 seconds, but according to the log, there were no recent calls. The received calls screen was empty. My hands gripped the wheel. What the hell had just happened? Had it been real? Or was I so tired I was hallucinating? But it sounded so real. It was Andre's voice. I was sure. I looked at the GPS. I was at kilometer 438. Kilometer 412 was about 25 kilometers ahead. When you reach kilometer 412, there's an exit toward a service area. Don't take it. I decided I had nothing to lose. Whether it was real or not, I simply wouldn't take that exit. Simple. I kept driving. I passed kilometer 430, then 425. Traffic had decreased. I only saw some cars from time to time. 11:20 p.m. according to the clock. The radio was broadcasting party music. 40 minutes left to say goodbye to 2022, kilometer 420. My cell phone rang again. This time it was my wife, Rosa. Hello, Alberto. Her voice sounded like she had been crying. Alberto, is it you? Rosa, yes, it's me. What's happening? Andres just called me saying strange things. Alberto, I miss you so much. It's been 2 years, 2 years without you. And not knowing what happened, not having answers, has been horrible. I felt a chill. Rosa, I don't know what's happening, but I'm here. I'm fine. I'm driving towards San Luis. There's so much I want to tell you, so much that happened. Andres graduated. He got a job at a good company. Your dad died last year. At his funeral, everyone asked about you, and I didn't know what to tell them. Tears started running down my cheeks. My dad died. Yes, and you weren't there, because you disappeared that night, at kilometer 412. What's at kilometer 412? What happened there? We don't know. Your tractor was found on the shoulder near the exit to the service area. The keys were in the ignition, your cell phone on the seat, your wallet, everything was there. But you weren't. It was as if you had vanished. I was approaching kilometer 415, 3 kilometers to 412. Rosa, Andres told me not to take the exit to the service area. Do you know why? I don't know. I only know that there's something at that place. The police checked the service area cameras. The last recordings show tractors entering, but some never leave. They simply disappear in the recordings, as if they stopped existing. They thought it was a technical problem, but the call began to fill with static. Rosa, can you hear me? I love you no matter what happens, remember it. Rosa, the line cut off. Kilometer 413. Ahead I could see the blue sign of a service area. Services 1 km, it said. My mind was racing. If what Andres and Rosa had said was true, and a part of me felt it was, then at that service area something was going to happen that would make me disappear. That would leave me trapped somewhere in some time, unable to reach the future. But another part of me thought, this is ridiculous. There's no way those calls were real. It was tiredness, stress, my mind playing tricks on me. Kilometer 412. I saw the exit. There was a large arrow pointing toward the exit ramp, and something else. Bright lights. The service area looked strangely illuminated, more than normal, and there were several tractors there. 5, 6, maybe more, all parked, their lights on. For some reason, seeing them gave me a feeling of relief, as if they were waiting for me, as if that were the right place to stop. My hand went toward the turn signal, almost automatically. Don't take it, Andres' voice echoed in my head. Don't stop until you reach San Luis Potosi. My fingers were on the turn signal control. I was about to activate it. The exit was 50 meters away, 40 meters. In that moment, I made a decision. I took my hand off the turn signal. I kept the tractor in the highway lane. I passed the exit. In the rearview mirror, I saw the service area moving away. And then I saw something that froze my blood. The tractors that were parked, they were all the same model. Kenworth T800, black, exactly like mine. And in each cab I could make out a figure, a driver, all sitting, all motionless, all looking toward the highway, toward the tractors passing by. Waiting, I floored the accelerator. My tractor gained speed, 120, 130 kilometers per hour. I needed to get away from that place. The radio began the countdown. 10, 9, 8. I looked at the clock. 11:59 p.m. 7, 6, 5. Kilometer 405. I was moving away from 412. 4, 3, 2. 12 o'clock a.m. 1. Happy New Year 2023. Fireworks were exploding in the distant sky. Music, celebration on the radio. And my cell phone rang. With trembling hands, I answered, "Hello, Dad. Happy New Year." It was Andres, but his voice sounded different, younger, like he normally sounded. "Andres." "Yes, Dad. I was calling to wish you a happy year. Did you already arrive in San Luis?" "No, I'm still on the way." "Andres, a while ago you called me. You told me not to stop at kilometer 412. "What? No, Dad. This is the first time I've called you all night. I'm at a party with my friends in Guadalajara. I don't even know what's at kilometer 412. My heart was beating fast. "Andres, what year is it?" He laughed. "Are you okay, Dad? We just entered 2023. Literally a minute ago." Yes, you're right. Sorry, I'm tired. Drive carefully, okay? I love you." "I love you too, son." I hung up. So those calls had been real, but not from 2024. They had been warnings, messages from a future that wasn't going to happen because I changed my decision. I arrived in San Luis Potosi at 1:15 in the morning. I delivered my load without problems the next day. I went back home. My life continued normally. Andres graduated 2 years later in 2025. My dad is alive and well, thank God. Rosa is with me. But sometimes I think, what would have happened if I had taken that exit? Where would I be now? Trapped in 2022. Disappeared like in the future that Andres and Rosa described. And most disturbing, those other drivers I saw parked at the service area, in tractors identical to mine, were they other versions of me? Versions that did take the exit. Versions trapped in different timelines, different years, all waiting in that same place. I don't have answers. I only know that every time I pass kilometer 412 of Highway 57, and I avoid it as much as I can, I look toward that exit. And every time I swear I see tractors parked there, waiting, always waiting. And I wonder how many drivers have entered that service area on New Year's Eve and have never left. Story 6. The passenger who shouldn't be there, narrated by Javier Morno. 24 years of experience, Javier Morno. 24 years driving. 2014 International Lone Star tractor, navy blue with chrome. Most of my work is on the Pacific coast, routes between Mazatlan, Tepic, and Guadalajara. My story is from 4 years ago, December 31st, 2020, entering 2021. It was the year of COVID, when everything was strange. There were curfews in some places, people wore face masks. The highways were emptier than ever. That night I had a load of medical products that I had to take from Mazatlan to Guadalajara. Important equipment, ventilators, oxygen, that kind of thing. It was urgent because of the pandemic, so I agreed to work on New Year's. I left Mazatlan around 7 in the evening. The weather was humid, that sticky humidity typical of the coast. There were low clouds, and it felt like it was going to rain, but nothing had fallen yet. Highway 15D toward Tepic was practically empty. During the pandemic, many people had stayed home, so the highways were lonelier than ever. I was one of the few who continued working normally. Around 9:30 at night, a few kilometers after Escuinapa, I saw someone on the shoulder. A young man, about 25 or 30 years old, making signs with his hand. He wore jeans and a white shirt. He had no luggage. He was just standing there with his thumb up asking for a ride. Normally, I don't pick up passengers. It's against company rules, and it's also dangerous. But there was something in that moment. The loneliness of the highway, the fact that it was New Year's and it was cold, the pandemic making everything more difficult, that made me feel sorry. I braked and pulled over. I rolled down the window. "Where are you going?" I shouted. "To Tepic, sir. If you can get me even a little closer, I would really appreciate it." "What are you doing here? Did your car break down?" "Something like that. Please, sir. I need to get to Tepic tonight." I hesitated a moment, but his face looked desperate, and I thought, it's New Year's, a good deed to start the year. "All right. Get in." He opened the passenger door and got in. He sat without saying anything, looking straight ahead. "Thank you," he finally said. "Really, thank you very much." "No problem. Do you have family in Tepic?" "Yes. My wife and my son. I need to get to them before midnight." "Ah, I understand. Well, we'll arrive around 11. You'll have time." He nodded. He stayed quiet, looking out the window into the darkness. We kept driving. I tried to make conversation, but he responded with short words. "Yes. No. Maybe." He seemed to be nervous or worried about something. Around 10:15, I turned on the radio. They were broadcasting the New Year's party from the Zocalo. Well, not exactly a party. That year, because of the pandemic, there were no crowds. It was more like music and announcers. "And so we say goodbye to this difficult 2020, the announcer said. "A year we'll never forget. A year that took so much from us." The passenger tensed. I noticed his hands were gripping his legs. "Are you okay?" I asked him. "Yes, it's just that. 2020 was a terrible year for me too. For everyone, friend. The pandemic affected us all. Not only that." His voice sounded strange, like distant. "I lost my dad in March, from the virus. I never got to say goodbye to him. Hospitals didn't let visitors in. He died alone. I'm very sorry. And then in June, I lost my job. The company went bankrupt. I had to sell my car, my house. My wife had to go live with her mom in Tepic. My son is 5 years old. He doesn't understand why Daddy isn't with them." I felt a wave of empathy. "And now you're going to reunite with them?" "Yes, for New Year's. I promised I would be there. I promised we would enter 2021 together." "That's good. Family is the most important thing." He nodded. He stayed quiet again. We passed through Villa Union. The rain finally started to fall, light at first, then harder. I put the windshield wipers on medium speed. "Not much longer," I told him. "About half an hour to Tepic." "Yes." His voice sounded strange, like he was holding back tears. I looked at him. He had his face turned toward the window, but I could see his reflection in the glass. He seemed to be crying. "Hey, are you sure you're okay?" He didn't respond for a moment. Then he said, "Can I ask you a question?" "Sure. Do you think people can come back, even if it's for a moment, one last time?" I didn't understand the question. "Come back from where?" "From wherever we go." After, a chill ran down my back. "What are you talking about?" "I just wanted to see them one more time. My wife, my son. Tell them I love them. Say goodbye like I couldn't say goodbye to my dad. That's all, just that." My heart started beating faster. Something in his tone, in his words, was making me very nervous. "Listen, friend, I don't know what you're going through, but—" "It's 11:43, he interrupted me, looking at the dashboard clock. 17 minutes to midnight. Do you think we'll make it in time?" "Yes, we're close." "Good, because after midnight I have to leave. I can't stay longer." "Leave where?" He didn't respond. The rain intensified, thunder in the distance. The highway looked blurry through the windshield. "Where does your wife live exactly?" I asked him. "In what part of Tepic?" "In the Linda Vista neighborhood, Jasmine Street, number 247. "Okay. I can drop you off near there." "Thank you." We continued in silence. I was very uncomfortable. There was something deeply disturbing about all this, but I couldn't identify exactly what. We entered Tepic at 11:52 p.m. The streets were almost empty. Some houses still had Christmas lights on. I could hear music in the distance. I followed the GPS directions toward the Linda Vista neighborhood. I found Jasmine Street. The house numbers were going up. 205, 217, 231. It's there, the passenger said, pointing. The blue house. I braked in front of number 247. It was a small house, painted light blue with a metal gate. The lights were on inside. I could see shadows moving through the curtains. The passenger didn't move. He stayed sitting, looking at the house. "We're here," I told him. "Yes," his voice was barely a whisper. "They're there, I can feel them. Do you want me to wait, to make sure you get in okay?" "No, you've done enough, more than you know." He opened the door and got down. He stood next to the tractor in the rain, not caring about getting wet. "Thank you," he said, looking at me through the open window, "for bringing me here, for giving me this opportunity. No problem, friend. Take care. Happy New Year. Happy New Year." He turned and started walking toward the house. I waited, watching how he approached the gate, but then something strange happened. Instead of opening the gate, he simply walked through it, as if it wasn't there. As if he were smoke passing through solid metal. I held my breath. "What?" He came out on the other side of the gate, in the yard of the house. He walked to the main window and stood there, looking inside. I couldn't move. I couldn't process what I had just seen. Inside the house, I saw a woman. She was sitting on a sofa, hugging a small boy. The two were watching television, waiting for the New Year's countdown. The passenger, or whatever he was, raised his hand and put it against the window glass. His mouth moved, as if he were saying something, although I couldn't hear it. "I love you." I'm almost sure that's what he said. The woman inside the house suddenly shuddered. She put her hand on her heart. She looked toward the window, directly toward where the passenger was. For a moment I thought she saw him. Her eyes opened wide. Her mouth formed a word, "Roberto." But then she blinked and the expression changed. Confusion, denial. She rubbed her eyes. The boy asked something. She shook her head, hugged him tighter. The passenger smiled. A sad smile, but at peace. He lowered his hand from the glass. And then, as I watched, he started to fade, like smoke dispersing in the air. His figure became transparent, then blurry, then he disappeared. He was no longer there. The dashboard clock changed to 12 o'clock a.m. Fireworks exploded in the sky. People shouted, "Happy New Year," from nearby houses. I stayed sitting in my tractor, trembling with the engine running, looking at that blue house. After a few minutes that seemed like hours, I took out my cell phone with shaking hands. I searched Roberto Tepic deceased 2020 on Google. I found a newspaper article. Date: December 15, 2020. Roberto Mendoza Ortiz, 32 years old, died yesterday in a car accident on Highway 15D near Escuinapa. Mendoza was traveling from Mazatlan toward Tepic when he lost control of his vehicle in the rain. He leaves behind his wife and a 5-year-old son. The family has asked for privacy at this difficult time. The photograph in the article showed the same man I had picked up, the same one who had just vanished before my eyes. I closed the browser. I started the tractor and left from there. I didn't look back. I drove to Guadalajara on autopilot. I delivered my load. I went home. I didn't tell anyone what had happened. But since that night, every time I see someone asking for a ride on the highway, especially on New Year's, I always wonder, is it a real person? Or is it someone who's trying to get somewhere one last time? Trying to say goodbye to someone they love? And now, when I see other drivers who stop to pick up passengers on New Year's Eve, part of me thinks, maybe it's okay. Maybe they're helping someone complete one last journey, to have one last chance to be with their family, even if it's for a moment, even if it's in a way we can't understand. Because sometimes love is stronger than anything else, stronger than time, stronger than death. And on New Year's Eve, when the world is between one year and the next, between the past and the future, maybe the normal rules don't apply. Maybe those who left can come back, just for a moment, just to say goodbye. Story 7. The Silent Caravan, narrated by Esteban Reyes. 20 years of experience. Esteban Reyes, 20 years driving. 2019 Peterbilt 579 tractor, red with grey. I work long northern routes, mainly between Ciudad Juarez and Monterrey. What happened to me was in the early morning of January 1st, 2022, but the story actually starts a few days before. On December 28th, another driver named Martin had disappeared. He was a colleague from the same company. He left Monterey toward Jerez with a normal load. He spoke by radio with other drivers until about 11 at night. And then, nothing. He stopped responding. His tractor was found 2 days later on the shoulder of Highway 45 near Villa Ahumada. Engine off, keys in, load intact. But Martin wasn't there. There were no signs of violence or accident. He had simply disappeared. The company and police investigated but found nothing, as if he had evaporated. 3 days later, December 31st, I had to do the same route, Monterey to Jerez. The company asked me if I wanted to postpone the trip, considering what had happened to Martin, but I needed the money. Besides, I thought, these things don't happen twice. How wrong I was. I left Monterey around 7 in the evening. Highway 45 is a route I know well. It's long, mostly straight, passes through a lot of desert. At night, there's not much to see except the white line of the road and the stars above. The weather was freezing. 3 degrees, according to the thermometer. The wind was blowing hard, moving creosote bushes on the sides of the road. Around 10 at night, I passed through Artiga. Up to that point, everything was normal. There was some traffic, some cars, a couple of buses, an occasional tractor. The radio was broadcasting norteña music, and every so often the announcer reminded that it was the last night of 2021. After Artiga, traffic dispersed more. By 11 at night, I was practically alone on the highway. Just me, the desert, and the darkness. It was at 11:17 p.m. when I saw the first lights. Ahead in the distance, red lights, several pairs, like 5 or 6 vehicles. I approached. They were tractors, all moving in caravan very close together at constant speed, about 80 kilometers per hour, slower than normal. That in itself wasn't strange. Sometimes we drivers travel in groups for safety, but there was something in the way they were moving, too synchronized, too perfect. Like robots, I reduced my speed to maintain distance. I counted 6 tractors in total, different models, Freightliner, Kenworth, International, but all painted in dark colors. Black, gray, navy blue. I tried to communicate by radio. Convoy ahead, this is unit behind, channel 19. Do you copy? Static. Convoy on 45 heading north, can anyone hear me? Nothing. I decided to pass them. I put on my turn signal and moved to the left lane. I started to pass the last tractor. It was a black Kenworth. When I was at the height of its cab, I looked inside. There was a driver. I could see his silhouette. But he was completely motionless. He didn't move his head, didn't adjust the wheel, nothing. He just looked straight ahead, rigid. How strange, I thought. Maybe he had the seat very adjusted or something. I continued ahead and passed the next tractor. A gray Freightliner. Same result. Motionless driver looking straight ahead. I passed the third. Blue International. Motionless driver. A feeling of discomfort started to grow in my stomach. I accelerated a bit more. I needed to get out of this strange conv. I passed the 4th, the 5th, all with drivers who didn't move. They didn't turn their heads when I passed. They didn't even seem to blink. Finally, I got to the first one in the caravan and passed it. I got ahead of the whole group and accelerated to 110 kilometers per hour. I looked in the rearview mirror. The 6 tractors were still there, in perfect formation, like soldiers marching. I kept driving. After about 10 minutes, I couldn't see them in the mirror anymore. I had left them behind. I breathed more easily. 11:38 p.m. The radio started announcing. 22 minutes left to say goodbye to 2021 and welcome 2022. I was passing through a particularly empty stretch of desert. There were no city lights in sight, just darkness and stars. And then my tractor started losing speed. I pressed the accelerator. It wasn't responding. The engine kept running, but it was as if something were pulling me backward. I looked at the dashboard. Everything was normal, fuel full, no warning lights, but I kept losing speed. From 110, I dropped to 100 to 90 to 80, and it was then that I saw the lights in the rear-view mirror. The caravan, the 6 tractors. They were catching up with me, but that was impossible. They were going 80 and I had been at 110. I had put kilometers of distance between us. However, there they were, getting closer and closer. My speed dropped to 70 kilometers per hour, 60, 50. The tractors were approaching. I could see their bright lights in my mirrors. They were coming fast, much faster than before. 40 kilometers per hour, 30, 20. My tractor practically stopped. I pressed the brake completely and pulled over on the shoulder. The 6 tractors passed by me, slowly now back to their 80 kilometers per hour in perfect formation. And when each one passed, I could clearly see their cabs. The drivers weren't human, or rather they had been human but no longer. Their faces were pale, almost grey. Their eyes were completely black. No irises, no visible pupils, just emptiness. And they all had the same expression, nothing, no emotion, no life. The last tractor passed, and on its trailer, painted with faded letters, there was text. Midnight Caravan, don't follow. I felt as if they had thrown ice water on me. The 6 tractors continued ahead and disappeared into the darkness. I tried to start my tractor. The engine coughed but wouldn't start. I tried again. Nothing. 11:52 p.m. I grabbed the CB radio. Can anyone hear me? I'm stranded at kilometer. I looked at the last marker I had seen. Kilometer 237 of Highway 45. I need assistance. The response was immediate, but it wasn't what I expected. A voice came out of the radio, masculine, flat, without emotion, like a recording. There is no assistance, only the caravan. Who is this? Who's speaking? The New Year's caravan, those who don't finish the journey, those who stay on the road. I don't understand. Martin is with us now, in the caravan, driving, always driving, never arriving. Martin, the driver who had disappeared days earlier. What did you do to him? Nothing. The highway took him, as it takes some each year. Those who are in the wrong place at the wrong time, midnight on New Year's, the hour of transition, the hour of choice. Choice. Join the caravan, or find another way to move forward, but you can't stay here. You can't be stopped when the clock strikes 12. Why not? Because then the highway decides for you. The transmission cut off. I looked at the clock. 11:56 p.m., 4 minutes. I tried to start the tractor again. The engine turned but wouldn't start. Come on, come on, come on, I shouted, hitting the wheel. 11:57 p.m. I jumped out of the cab. I opened the hood and checked everything I could with my flashlight. Battery connected, cables in place. I didn't see anything obviously wrong. 11:58 p.m. In the distance, ahead on the highway, I saw lights approaching. The caravan. Coming back. The 6 tractors were coming back, moving in reverse down the highway, in perfect formation, as if time had reversed. 11:59 p.m. I went back up to the tractor. I turned the key. Please, please. The engine coughed. It turned. It coughed again. The tractors were 100 meters away. Start. The engine roared to life. The tractors were 50 meters away. I put the gear in drive and floored the accelerator. The tires squealed. The tractor lurched forward. The other tractors were 20 meters away. I accelerated. 30 kilometers per hour. 50. 70. The clock changed to 12 o'clock a.m. I heard the explosion of distant fireworks, probably from Villa Ahumada, which was a few kilometers ahead. Happy New Year, people shouted on the radio. I looked in the rearview mirror. The 6 tractors had stopped. They were standing in the middle of the highway, their lights shining in the night. And slowly, one by one, they faded, like ghosts that disappear when the sun comes out. First, the last one. Then the 5th, the 4th. Their lights went out and the tractors simply stopped being there. In a few seconds, the highway behind me was completely empty. I didn't stop driving until I reached Villa Ahumada. I found a gas station and parked under the bright lights, surrounded by people celebrating the new year. I was shaking so much I could barely get down from the tractor. Later, I did some research. I asked other veteran drivers if they had heard anything about a midnight caravan on Highway 45. Most didn't know anything, but an old driver with almost 40 years of experience told me something I'll never forget. Every year, he said, some drivers disappear on New Year's, on different highways in the country. Their bodies are never found, only their tractors abandoned. And according to legend, those drivers don't die. They join a phantom caravan that travels the highways at midnight on December 31st, trapped in an eternal loop, driving forever but never arriving anywhere. "And Martin?" I asked. The old driver shook his head sadly. "If you really saw him in that caravan, then I'm afraid he stayed in 2021. He never crossed to 2022, and probably never will. Since that night, every New Year's I stay home, no matter how much money they offer, no matter how urgent the load is. Because I know that outside, on some dark highway in the country, there's a caravan traveling. 6 tractors, maybe more now, moving in perfect formation. Driven by men who were once like me. Men who made the mistake of being on the highway at the wrong time. And I don't want to be the 7th. Story 8, The Last Journey, the Darkest Story, narrated by Daniel Cortez. 30 years of experience, Daniel Cortez. 30 years driving, the oldest one here. My tractor is a 2012 Kenworth W900, black with gold details. A classic. I've traveled every highway in this country. I've seen things I'd rather not remember, but none compares to what happened to me 5 years ago. December 31st, 2019. The last midnight before the world changed with the pandemic, although we didn't know it yet. That night, I wasn't supposed to be working. I had plans to be at home with my family in Guanajuato, but I received an urgent call from a client. They needed to transport special equipment from Mexico City to Monterrey. They were paying triple the normal rate. Triple. I couldn't turn it down. My wife was angry, my children disappointed. "Always work," my wife told me. "You're never here for important things." She was right, but I told myself, it's just this once. I'll do this trip, earn that extra money, and next year I'll make up for everything. I left Mexico City at 8 at night. The load was strange. Sealed boxes, very heavy. The client didn't tell me exactly what was inside. Medical equipment was all he said. But something in the way the boxes moved, the weight distribution, it didn't feel like medical equipment. I didn't ask questions. Sometimes it's better not to know. Highway 57D was moderately busy at the beginning. There were families traveling, people going to parties. The atmosphere was festive. Christmas lights still decorated some bridges. Around 10 at night, traffic started to decrease. By 11, I was practically alone on long stretches of the highway. The radio was broadcasting music and updates about New Year's celebrations in different cities. 1 hour to say goodbye to 2019. The announcer said, with an enthusiastic voice. I didn't share the enthusiasm. I just wanted to finish this trip, deliver the load, and go home. It was at 11:23 p.m. when I received the call. My cell phone rang. Unknown number. Normally I don't answer unknown numbers while driving, but that night something made me answer. "Hello," silence, only breathing on the other side. "Hello, who's speaking?" A voice finally responded. It was my voice. "Daniel, it's you. Well, a version of you, from the future. You have to listen to me carefully because we have very little time." I frowned. "What kind of joke is this?" "It's not a joke. I know this sounds impossible, but it's real. In exactly 37 minutes, at 12 midnight, you're going to have a decision to make. A decision that will define the rest of your life. And you need to know the consequences." "What decision? What are you talking about?" "The load you're carrying, it's not medical equipment. They're organs, stolen organs. The client you're working for is part of an organ trafficking network. And when you arrive in Monterrey, the police are going to be waiting. They're going to arrest you. They're going to accuse you of being an accomplice. And although eventually you prove you didn't know anything, your reputation will be destroyed. Your license revoked. Your family will turn their back on you. In 5 years, you'll be alone, without money, without anyone." My heart was beating fast. That can't be true. But there's another option. At midnight, you're going to see an exit. It's not marked on GPS. It doesn't appear on any map. But it's going to be there. If you take it, if you abandon the load there, no one will find you. No one will know you were involved. You can go back to your family, continue with your life. Why should I believe you? You could be anyone. The stuffed animal, the brown bear you have in the cab, his name is Bruno. He belonged to your daughter when she was 3 years old. You keep him there because he reminds you that everything you do is for them, for your family. I froze. No one knew that. No one except me. I looked toward the dashboard. There was the small brown bear tied to the rearview mirror. How do you know? Because I'm you. And I've lived what's going to happen if you don't change the course of this night. Please, Daniel. When you see the exit, take it. The call cut off. My hands were sweating on the wheel. My mind was racing. Had it been real, or was I so tired I was hallucinating? I looked back at the trailer. What was really in those boxes? I decided to stop and check it. I pulled over on the shoulder and got down from the tractor. I opened the back doors of the trailer. The boxes were there, sealed with industrial tape. There were labels, fragile, keep refrigerated. I took out my knife and cut the tape on one of the boxes. I opened it. Inside there was dry ice, and underneath medical containers, the type they used to transport organs. I felt as if I had been punched in the stomach. The voice on the phone had told the truth. I closed the box quickly. I closed the trailer doors. I went back to the cab. My cell phone read 11:47 p.m., 13 minutes to midnight. I started the tractor and went back to the highway. My mind was chaos. What should I do? If I delivered the load, I would be complicit in a horrible crime. But if I abandoned it, what would happen? And who had called me? Was it really me from the future, or was it a trap? 11:53 p.m. Ahead I saw something. An exit sign, but it was strange. The sign was completely blank. No text, no symbols, just a green arrow pointing right. That exit shouldn't be there. I knew this highway. There was no exit at this kilometer, but there it was. 11:56 p.m. Should I take it, or was it madness? I thought about my family, about my children, about my wife, about the 30 years I had worked honestly. 11:58 p.m. I made my decision. I put on my turn signal and took the exit. The road descended into darkness. There were no lights, no signs, just a dirt road that moved away from the highway. I continued ahead. The tractor shook on the irregular road. After about a kilometer, I reached a clearing, an open space surrounded by trees. 11:59 p.m. I parked the tractor. I got down. I looked around. There was nothing, just silence and darkness. The tractor radio, which I had left on, began the countdown. 10, 9, 8. I walked to the back of the trailer. I opened the doors. 7, 6, 5. The boxes were still there. I decided to leave them. Leave everything here. I would disconnect the trailer and leave alone with the cab. 4, 3, 2. I started disconnecting the pneumatic hoses. 1. Happy New Year 2020. Flash of light. Like a silent lightning that illuminated the whole clearing. And when my eyes adjusted, the trailer had disappeared. Completely. It was no longer there. Just the cab of my tractor and me standing where a second ago the trailer had been. I looked around frantically. What? And then I saw something else. Someone else. A man standing at the edge of the clearing, in the shadow of the trees. "Hello," I shouted. The man came out into the light. It was me. Older, with more grey hair, more wrinkles, but definitely me. "You did it," he said. His voice was exactly like the one on the phone. "You took the exit." I couldn't speak. I couldn't process what I was seeing. "I know this is difficult to understand," he continued. "But it was necessary. The trailer, the load, should never have existed in the correct timeline. It was an error, an anomaly, and you were chosen to correct it." Chosen? By whom? By the highway, by time. I don't know exactly how it works. I only know that every New Year's there are moments of correction. Moments where decisions can change everything. And tonight you made the right decision. And now what happens? Now you go back to the highway. You go back to your life. And that load, that trailer, that criminal client never existed for you. When you wake up tomorrow, you'll remember that you spent New Year's with your family, that you never left Guanajuato. This night, this journey will become a dream, a blurry memory. "I don't want to forget," I said. "I need to remember. I need to learn from this." My older self smiled sadly. "It doesn't work that way. Correction requires forgetting. But trust me, the lesson will stay with you in other ways. You'll be a better husband, better father. You'll spend more time with your family. Although you won't consciously remember why, you'll do it." He turned to leave. "Wait," I shouted. "What about the others? The drivers who tell New Year's stories? Did they also?" Each one had their own correction, their own decision. Some took it, others didn't. Those who didn't stayed trapped in loops, in repetitions, in places between times. You were lucky. You heard the warning. You did the right thing. He disappeared into the shadows. I was left alone in the clearing. My tractor cab hummed softly behind me. I looked at my cell phone. 12:03 a.m. January 1, 2020. I got in the cab. The GPS showed I was in Guanajuato, at my house. That was impossible. I had been on the highway 5 minutes ago. But when I looked out the window, I recognized my street, my house. The lights on, fireworks exploding in the sky. I got down from the tractor confused. I walked toward my house. The door opened. My wife was there, smiling. "Are you done parking? Come, the kids are waiting for you to toast." Wasn't I supposed to go to Monterey? She looked at me confused. "Monterey? No, love. You decided not to take that job, remember? You said family was more important. That you had been absent too much, and that this new year you wanted to be here." I blinked. Yes, that's right. Or wasn't it? My memory was blurry, fuzzy. I entered the house. My children ran to hug me. My wife kissed me. "Happy New Year," she whispered. "Happy New Year," I responded. And as I hugged them, as I heard their laughter, I had a strange thought. There was something I should remember. Something important that had happened that night. Something about a highway, an exit, a decision. But the more I tried to remember it, the more it faded. Like a dream upon waking. Like smoke dispersing in the air. Like the old year giving way to the new, leaving behind what no longer served, what was no longer necessary. Epilogue, it's 11 at night now. December 31st, 2025. In an hour, 2026 will enter. Outside this cafe, the rain keeps falling. The other drivers have already gone to their hotel rooms. No one is going to drive tonight. We've all learned the lesson. I'm staying here, having my last coffee, writing these stories for whoever wants to hear them. If you're a driver and you're reading this, if for some reason you have to be on the highway this New Year's Eve, I give you this advice. Pay attention to the signs, not the metal ones on the road, but the others. The voices that warn you, the vehicles that seem out of place, the kilometers that repeat, the exits that shouldn't be there. Don't ignore your instinct. If something feels wrong, it probably is. And remember, midnight on New Year's Eve is a moment of transition. A moment where the normal rules of time and space become flexible, where the dead can return for an instant, where the decisions you make can change more than you imagine. Some of us cross into the new year without problems, but others stay trapped between years, between times, on highways that never end, in loops that never break. In 12 minutes 2026 will begin, and somewhere in Mexico, a lonely driver is going to see something they can't explain. They're going to live something that will change their life forever. Maybe that's you. If it is, I hope you make the right decisions. I hope you listen to the warnings. And I hope, more than anything, that when dawn breaks on January 1st, you're alive to see the sun. Because not everyone makes it. Not everyone crosses. And those who don't, well, they become the stories that drivers like us tell on nights like this. Warnings, lessons, reminders that the highway, especially on New Year's Eve, isn't just asphalt and painted lines. It's something more, something ancient, something we don't completely understand, something that takes its toll. The clock on the wall reads 11:48 p.m., 12 minutes to 2026. I'm going to stay here, surrounded by lights, surrounded by people, waiting for midnight to pass safely. And tomorrow, when the sun rises on the first day of 2026, I'll return to my tractor. I'll check that everything is okay, and I'll continue my work. Because after all, I'm a driver. It's what I do. It's what we all are. But on this night, at this specific hour, I prefer to be here, safe, on solid ground, letting the highway do whatever it does in these moments of transition, without me. Outside, I hear the first burst of fireworks. Someone couldn't wait until midnight. People start gathering, preparing their glasses of cider, their grapes, their wishes for the new year. I only have one wish, that all the drivers who are on the highway tonight arrive safely at their destination, that they cross into 2026 without incidents, that their clocks strike 12:01 and everything continues to be normal. That they don't become another story to tell in a roadside cafe on some future December 31st. Because there are already enough stories, enough warnings, enough drivers who didn't make it to see the new year. We don't need more. But I know that no matter how many times we tell these stories, there will always be someone who thinks they can tempt fate, who thinks it won't happen to them, that the extra money or the urgency of the delivery or the need to be with family justifies the risk. And maybe they're right. Maybe 99 out of 100 drivers cross midnight without problems. But that one who doesn't, that one who sees something they shouldn't see, who enters a place they can't leave, who stays trapped in the moment between one year and the next, that one becomes us. Those who tell stories, those who warn, those who never forget that night, although sometimes we wish we could. The clock reads 11:59. Last countdown, 10:98. Through the cafe window, I see lights from a tractor passing on the highway, moving fast. Someone who decided to risk it. 7, 6, 5. The red lights of the tractor move away in the distance, in the rain, in the darkness. 4, 3, 2. I hope whoever that driver is reaches where they need to go. 1. I hope they cross. Happy New Year 2026. Screams, hugs, music. The cafe waiters toast with us. Fireworks light up the sky despite the rain. And outside, the highway continues. Dark, wet, empty now, waiting for the next driver, waiting for the next story, waiting for the next midnight. Because the highway always waits. It's always there, reminding us that although we can control many things in our lives, there are forces beyond our understanding. Moments we can't predict, places between places. And on New Year's Eve, when one year ends and another begins, those forces are closer than ever. Welcome to 2026. May you live to see 2027. And if you have to drive next December 31st, may God be with you. Because the highway shows no mercy.